Okay, folks, we're looking at the most profound thing on the whole entire planet, except for your spirit, which is much, much more profound. We are going to be taking a look at the Urantia book, people. This thing is unbelievable, the wisdom that's in here. So if you've never looked at this before, you really have to read this on your own. And don't listen to any of the reviews or anything like that. That's just that's second hand experience or indirection. Remember, we're trying to go for direction here. Even this book is indirection when compared to accessing your own spirit within you and getting direct revelation, or another word being auto revelation rather than epochal revelation. But because of the status of the planet and what we've been programmed from birth to be a part of, it is very difficult to find that still small voice within you to get the direct information. So that's why we luckily have been when the lamp of truth is about to be extinguished on a planet, there is such a intervention, a universal intervention known as revelation. And the first four were various beings, one being Jesus of Nazareth, which this book goes into. The fifth was a book. So this is as important of an event here on this. Well, I don't know if you can rank them. I don't know if you can rank them because Jesus was doing other things other than just revealing. He was also fulfilling his seventh bestowal and to become sovereign of a local universe, which puts into perspective how big the universe actually is, because our local universe is to have 10 million inhabited planets, of which there's only been about 3.5 completed, and that there are 700,000 local universes, each with that number of inhabited planets. One quick aside I'll say is that there's been a new release of the UFO files. Interestingly enough, there's these anomalous things. I don't believe that they're craft. I believe that beings are they're beings, okay, in seraphimed, which is the concept of a living being acting as the craft. Okay, so it actually will wrap the whatever being needs to be transported. They say that there's beings coming and going all the time here, people. Even things like they call, I don't know if it's celestial observers or star students. People come here to study this planet just because of how fucked up it is. They're like, what's going on there? And not only that is that the sovereign of the local universe, Michael of Nebadon, um, chose this as his bestowal planet because it was, one of the worst. And so they're very interested about what's going on here. This planet has a lot of different characteristics about it, which are interesting. It's got an archangel headquarters here, so there's beings coming and going all the time. And this in seraphim type thing, it could definitely account for all these. Oh, they defy physics. They're able to do this and that and this and that. Well, they're working on different levels. But remember, there's a physical counterpart to spirituality as well. So these advanced planets outside of when you die, there's going to be a physical counterpart to that. It's not etheric where things are floating through, but they all start to coordinate and synthesize with the Morantia being the intervening gateway between man, the material, and the spiritual. So that's just one aside about that, is that I definitely think that there are beings coming hither and yon constantly, and we're picking up some of it, but I don't believe that they're craft. I don't think they need craft when you get to that level, and they're definitely benevolent. When anything has the ability to do evil like that, it's quarantined. So on this planet, it's got quarantine, so beings aren't leaving this planet to go then spread their hatred and their unbridled personal liberty to other planets. So if you're wondering on if the and plus we see the or we've heard the stories about them, you know, turning the nukes off and stuff like that, and being able to like use energy to turn the nuclear bombs off and shut down the silos. We've seen all that. So they're all benevolent, and the what we're looking at today, because we talked about mastery the last time, and I know that mastery is a difficult thing to undertake because it's hard to say. Let's say you want to get off of the beer. It's in your face 24/7, right? You watch the Super Bowl and then all those commercials. You walk down the street, you go into the store, buy this beer in your face, in your face. You need to drink this, have a good time, stuff like that. So it's difficult, and I get that and I understand that. And of course, the divine forces who control this planet over control this planet. The evil forces control the planet. So that's a good distinguishing thing to understand. The divine forces are the over control, but the evil forces are the ones who literally are the micro, controllers of what you're going to eat and put in your body based on. They can't literally, what's the word, possess you, but they can pander to your base desires. And the other number one poison is they can keep you afraid. Gee, I want to unwind from Cargill, the massive meat production industry, because that's axis of Epstein industry. And when I say that, I just mean that it's billionaires at the top of of the meat industry, right? And what are they using their money to do? Well, they're using them to poison people. Whoever's the billionaire at the top of that might even be worse, because how many people have they given cancer to by changing the laws in order to say that, or even they lobby to get these things not placed on the carcinogenic lists of known carcinogens. Okay, so they will use all of their money. There was a big story about this that happened in, I think it was the 70s, when they were using those certain chemicals to control the colors of the meats and things like that. Anyways, we already talked about that last time, but I just want to let you know that these there's no way to equate billionaire with not of a with evil, okay? I don't care what the type of evil that they're doing. Maybe they're just changing the laws and keeping people sick. Maybe they're just changing the laws to keep the world polluted, right? Or maybe they're just sitting by and watching people struggle and suffer in the streets while they're trying to build rockets to go to space and being completely absurd about all of their tech oligarchy, okay? Or making the what are they called, data centers now. So and people hate him, right? So the point is that it doesn't matter what that's happening. As Jesus said, the Master Jesus said, it is as easy for a rich man to pass into the gates of heaven as it is for a camel to pass through the eyes of a needle. So he's putting a hard line right there. Now, can you be comfortable in your life? Yeah, sure, of course. You can. We could all have that, all right? So if you wanted to unwind from something like that and say, geez, these billionaires are buying the laws, I don't care what company it is, they're all part of, that's why they call it the axis of Epstein. And that was just one of the evil faces that got exposed. But it's all evil. Even the ones that they do, quote, legally and out in the open is still engaging in evil, okay? If you're deregulating to then pollute the planet, that's still evil. Even though it's legal because you went about it in the ways of playing the system. But, and then you said, that's really difficult because, I really like having the chicken wings when I'm watching the game. And that's just hard. It's very difficult for people to reach that next level of mastery. And I know from my own experience, it's really as hard as an addict. If you see an addict in the street and you're trying to get them help, it's difficult. But it can be done. It definitely can be done. It requires effort. But let's look at something that's even more preliminary to that, because like I said, we are up against it here on this planet, and the divine forces know that. So even if you don't get it together during this life, don't remember the pace belongs to you. You're just trying to go through life, experience it, live it, and then move on. it'll be much easier in a more conducive world and sphere. But wouldn't you want to get on with it now if you could? A delay is not avoidance, it is merely delay. You can't avoid this. You're eventually going to have to give up these things that are holding your soul's progress back, because progress is the watchword in the universe. So, but it's difficult. So let's look at what is even more an easier step. Okay? We're looking at this thing called the quickeners of morality, which are actual beings in the universe. This whole thing is about all these different seraphim, which is another word for angels, as we called. There's transport seraphim, transport supernaphim, beings that are responsible for taking beings to other places, and that's their special abilities. But there's ones that have their very specialized. Okay, look at the transporters; they're right there. All three universally distributed lines of energy they utilize, each having a clear space velocity of 186,280 miles per hour. 555. Okay, anyways. So you're reading this thing, you're like, is this even real? What am I reading this? This is such a faith walk, this book. How do I know that any of this is actually the reality? But then you come across these sort of nuggets of wisdom that completely validate, and you know that you're getting this higher sense of truth, and it validates reading the parts that don't seem like they apply to you right now, and they might not apply to you right now. So don't get bogged down when you're reading this book. Just cycle through it. Because if you knew everything that there is to know today, then what would tomorrow hold? So some of those things are meant for the future you, reading this book in 10 years. Quickeners of morality. On the mansion worlds, you begin to learn self... Oh, no. Is that what we did? Yeah. Is that what it is? Yeah, okay. Self-government for the benefit of all concerned. Your mind learns cooperation, learns how to plan with other and wiser beings. On the system headquarters, the seraphic teachers will further quicken your appreciation of cosmic morality, of the interactions of loyalty, liberty, and loyalty. So there's beings that help you understand what morality is. They are. It would take you too long if you didn't have a teacher, basically. Not too long, but I'd rather get the teacher than have to struggle through the learning the wrong way on my own, trial and tribulation. What is loyalty? It is the fruit of an intelligent appreciation of universe brotherhood. One could not take so much and give nothing, which is a very beautiful quote. So once you intelligently appreciate universe brotherhood, then you'll understand that there's a fruit that grows from that tree of that, and that is loyalty, because you fully understand how important the whole entire tree is. One could not take so much and give nothing. As you ascend the personality scale, first you learn to be loyal, right? And we just learned what that was about the fruit. Then to love. Okay, so loyal first, it says. Then to be filial. I think that has something to do with like giving, maybe? I forget. And then may you be free. Okay? You're not free until that happens. You haven't qualified for freedom unless that happens. It's just like how we said how the evil beings get quarantined on a planet. But not until you are a finaliter, which is the eventual attainment for this universe age of you, not until you have attained perfection of loyalty can you self-realize finality of liberty. These seraphim teach the fruitfulness of patience, that stagnation is certain death, but that over-rapid growth is equally suicidal. So we're not trying to all of a sudden say, oh no, I just saw a video where somebody talked about self-mastery. Now I'm going to just right away stress out and give up everything that I've ever, saw cold turkey style. You can do that if you want. Um, but if it's stressing you out even more so, your better option is to relax and flow towards into these universal concepts, whether it be mastery or service. That as a drop of water from a higher level falls to a lower, and flowing onward passes ever downward through a succession of short falls. Okay, so you can picture a little drop is on a leaf, and then it just goes a little bit. Maybe it pools here for a little while, gathers, and then boop, goes a little bit more. Okay, so ever upward, and they're tiny, people. That is such like a tiny little thing. Remember, we're dealing with perfection here. So anytime that you're making any even one small choice, maybe you've had the 4 beers and you say I don't want to have the fifth. That's a drop of a leaf going doop, and you're saying no, I better not. I have to work tomorrow. Look at that, people. That's another drop, but it's not going downward though, because look at this. So ever upward is the progress, because up, kind of connotes we're on this lowly sphere here on this planet, but we're moving upward and inward at the same time. Remember, because it's always coordinated as far as your own inward journey. You could think of them as being synonymous. As you go inward, you're also going upward and outward. Is progress in the Morancha and spirit worlds, and just as slowly and by just such gradual stages. So, buckle in for the long haul when it comes to this mastery. Don't let it be a stressful thing. Say no to the second slice of pie or diabetes sugar, and then work from there. Shut off the TV at a certain point earlier than thing. To the inhabited worlds, the quickeners of morality portray mortal life as an unbroken chain of many links. Your short sojourn on Urantia, on this sphere of mortal infancy, is only a single link, the very first in a long chain that is to stretch across universes and through eternal ages. Now, this could be a faith walk for you at first, but then that could become knowing. And once it becomes knowing, it is going to be more profound and real of a knowing than anything at all. Like that this pen is here, or this, it's going to be more, that's going to be the epiphany. When this becomes known, that you're not just on the short or that this is just a short sojourn. So that way you can eliminate fear of death, and not to be like a daredevil or something stupid like that, because that's more caution. Fear is things like the number one poison, like I said, the forces of evil making it you afraid that you can't grow crops on your front lawn because you're going to look like the weird one. You're afraid to look like the weird one in the neighborhood, or that you can't go solar because you're afraid to look like the bleeding heart liberal. Those sort of things. That's the fear that we're talking about. Okay. And I forget why I brought that up, but portray mortal life as unbroken chain. Right, okay. So that can be known eventually, though. Oh, yeah. Then you won't have that fear of death, even, like Jesus. What should it matter if the whole world crumbles around you, for you have eternal life? He marched into his own death, knowing that they were just eliminating throwing out an old dirty shirt when they killed his physical body and moving on to the next level. It is the experience of living this life that is important. Okay, you don't have to get it now, people. The mastery and that sort of stuff. A delay is not avoidance, so it's better off if you do, because not only are you going to master your own life, but remember, as you master yourself, you master the world around you. You're going to change the world around you. So that could be your service. You don't have to be, everybody doesn't need to be Mother Teresa. You can just do your own self-mastery and put one less dollar into the axis of Epstein's pocket. And that is progress, people. That is one drop going up. Even the work of this world, paramount though it is is not nearly so important as the way in which you do this work. So that, are you doing it stress free? Are you trying to understand, or are you like one of those raging peoples that you see that at the on videos where they go into the store and act all sort of crazy, or because they didn't get the right service, so they're gonna flip out. Um, Even the work of this world, paramount, is not nearly as important as the way. There is no material reward for righteous living, but there is profound satisfaction. Remember, you're not going to get the same reward. You might not have the best car out there if you're just, but your soul is going to be full. And those people that are chasing that with the best car, you are a step ahead of them. And it might not seem like it here on this planet, but when the dust settles and we surely move off onto the next world, um, then there's going to be that justice, and you're going to say, wow, I concentrated on my morality and that sort of thing, and righteous living. Consciousness of achievement, and this transcends any conceivable material reward. Look at that. Consciousness of achievement. Your soul is now full. You have watered your soul. Okay? There's no replacement for that in the whole entire universe. Not even these beings can do it for you. They can just teach you about it. They can give you these words. But and if you don't do it, eventually there's going to be, look at where it says right here, stagnation is certain death. Okay? But over rapid growth is equally suicidal. So you have to understand that nuance and that balance there. This is really key. This is one of the best parts in the book. The keys of the kingdom of heaven are sincerity, more sincerity, and more sincerity. Write that on your heart and embed that in your mind. The keys to the kingdom of heaven. And remember, the domain of heaven can lie within, here and now, too. This doesn't need to be a far off goal, but it also is a far off goal. It's both things. Sincerity, and more sincerity. So, this, I believe, in my understanding of this, is that even if somebody, it's not saying the keys to the kingdom of heaven are faith, and more faith. And why is it not saying that? Because even if somebody is an atheist, or they have an incorrect concept, maybe they're a capitalist even, maybe they're and they're engaging in some sort of evil. Let's look at your Donald Trump, for instance. Okay, he's doing all these things. I don't even want to get into it, but he's corrupt, and he's selfish, and he's self-centered, and he's self-serving. All of those types of things that we know are anti-God. But he might be doing them so sincerely, okay, that when he is put into a different situation in the next world, when he has to become like just like a common person, nobody special, and that silver spoon thing doesn't work, and he will have such a correction in his understanding, and maybe he will be sincere about saying, oh no, I had really fucked up down there. I was going for the selfish, self-centered. I wasn't thinking about the common person, blah, blah, blah. Then that is going to be his kingdom of heaven. As far as then he's going to now start on square one again and say, I really need to rebuild this. Okay? I don't know what's going to happen. It's not my issue on what's going to happen. I'm just using him as an example, as somebody that everybody knows. And most people look at as being a corrupted person and saying, there's no way that guy could get to the kingdom of heaven. But this is saying that if he's sincere, then we can correct any of the other erroneous concepts that somebody might have. The divine is understanding about our status and plight here on this planet, and they're understanding that maybe somebody like a Trump has been born to and programmed from birth by the forces of evil to think that he needs to gain happiness by acquiring wealth and power, because before him they did it, his father did it, his father before him did it, so forth and so on. So there's an understanding of somebody's plight and not just an immediate casting out of their soul. But if he's not sincere, then that's never going to be corrected. Okay? All men have these keys. Men use them, advance in spirit status by decisions, more decisions, and by more decisions. That's your advancement is dependent upon using those keys, okay? So make those choices. The highest moral choice is the choice of the highest possible value. Value level is beyond even the human morality understanding. Value is a spiritual thing that stems from God. Okay? That's your things like love, service, best be served by serving others. And always in any sphere, in all of them, this is to choose to do the will of God. That covers all of it. That is a dynamic type of thing. That's different from each person, too. So you don't all have to be a Mother Teresa. Find your way. What is the will of God for you? But it isn't going to be self-serving, okay? That's the will of you. That's the Lucifer manifesto of unbridled personal liberty. If man thus chooses, he is great, though he be the humblest citizen of Jerusalem, which is the, I think it's, I want to say the system capital. I forget. It's one of the, it's a world beyond this one, or even the least of mortals on Urantia. Okay, so again, the meek shall inherit the earth, all that sort of stuff. You might not inherit the earth, but you'll be great, and you'll inherit much more when greatness actually shines. Unfortunately, on this planet, greatness doesn't shine. Money shines, and that's why that's what rises to the top. Money and power. Greatness shines in our individual lives. Remember, we're always dealing with two things, the individual and the collective. We point out the collective and the flaws in that, or even the flaws in the individual, for educational purposes only. It's not something to be dwelled on or anything like that. No matter what the status of any planet is, anybody is free to attain as high level of spirituality as they possibly can. So remember, whatever you're doing now, even if it's atheism, be sincere about it. If you're sincere about your atheism, that's the keys to the kingdom of heaven. I could picture a very sincere atheist. Well, here's a great example. I was watching the PBD, a clip from the PBD podcast. I just try to get a perspective. He's a capitalist, okay? And I am not a capitalist because I see what capitalism comes to. And I think there should be maybe like 30% capitalism in a system. 30% capitalism, like 70% socialism. So there's enough competition, but the salary gets capped at a certain point. Nobody should have to make, I mean, $1 million a year is even exorbitant, but that's, I mean, I don't know. I'm not an economist, so I don't know, but $1 million a year should be a cap to me in my view of things. But so this person, this Patrick Bat David, was saying how he's he's like, you think anybody's going to change my mind about being a capitalist? And all of his friends are like, no, we know, you're stuck in capitalism, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, there's no way that anybody's going to change my mind ever about being a capitalist. And he's so sincere about that. But when he leaves this planet and he bops off and he'd probably be a sleeping survivor. I don't know. I'm not a judge or anything like that. But when he's resurrected based on the mercy, because this isn't somebody who's selling his soul whatsoever. He's just kind of a lost soul, but not lost, as the book says, not lost in the theological sense, as in he didn't sell his soul. He's just wandering out there in the field of isms and he doesn't have, this under his belt, so he's really kind of just, lost. And that's okay. That's where he's at, and that's fine. And I'm not trying to say anything negative about him whatsoever. But I will say that his understanding, or what he should be putting his philosophy into, capitalism, turns into evil because of the fact that people can eventually buy laws. They can buy human beings, okay? If you're that's what capitalism gives you. Might makes right, law of the jungle. You can buy human beings, and you can even extinguish life on the entire planet if you're in the might maker. I can buy whatever. Whoever has the most money is at the top, right? So, anyways, when he's resurrected and he says, "Wow, I'm resurrected, and this is what the economy is like. It's more about giving, and it's more about the service mentality and everything." And I see, I was so wrong, and that he's a sincere person. So now he's going to be sincere about the new truth that he understands. Because remember, truth is living. Yes, we know that. It's unfolding. And that's from a universal perspective. Even universal truth is living and unfolding. But relative truth, your own viewpoints and opinions as looking out into the world, are even more so living because they'll change even quicker. Well, I don't know about the speed in comparison, but they are definitely subject to a lot of change because we're looking at it from a very circumscribed viewpoint here on this planet from our own out of our own two eyeballs with our own programmings or learnings and even our genetics. So yeah, sincerity, people, and that really is the mortal passport towards heaven. Okay, keep that in mind. Be sincere about what you do, and eventually, the universe, if the universe has a sincere person, then all of the other things are going to be corrected, and you are going to proceed on and fulfill your amazing destiny that you have laid out there before you. And it's your choice if you want to take it. It's your choice at when you want to embark on it. So take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time.